Sport requires effort, sweat and strong will, and Macron knows it. A leading global company with Italian DNA in the production and sale of sportswear, when Macron first entered the sports world in 1971, it was a small yet strong player. Since then, Macron has been growing at a very fast pace, supporting teams, sportsmen and women at all levels, working hard to supply them with the best technical products to help improve their performances. With over 4 million pieces of stock available in our Italian warehouse and an extensive range of on-field, off-field and free-time products, we cater for everyone from amateurs to professional sporting organisations, even referees. Ranked third most prominent football brand by the UEFA, Macron keeps expanding its presence worldwide, including Australia, where we are currently proud partners of Perth Glory, Macarthur FC, Port Adelaide and Parramatta Eels, and more to come. Work hard, play harder, Macron, your next teamwear partner. For more information, visit our website at www.macronvic.com.au or call us on 1800 Macron.
Looking for the best in authentic Maltese cuisine? Then you need to dine at Georgie's on Vista. Situated in the heart of Fraser Eyes, you can't go wrong when it comes to family dining. We have a menu for mum and dad, one for the kids, and one for seniors. Everyone's taken care of. Don't miss our specialty nights. Tuesday night is Parma night, where you get to choose from not one, but 5 different Parmas. Wednesday night, kids eat free with every paying adult meal. Thursday night is Members Night, where members get the chance to win some great prizes. And Friday night, join us for happy hour between 5:30pm to 7:30pm. Jim, Johnny, Jack and their little brother Schooner are only $5 each. Looking to get an early start Friday afternoon for a punt? Our sports bar with TAB is open from 3pm Friday afternoons. To book your table, email info@georgiesonvista.com.au. Bring the family and come dine at Georgie's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Eyes, Plumpton.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to you wherever you may be. It's a massive, massive show tonight on the Football Outwear Show. And, well, gentlemen, straight away, it's a big welcome to you all, Steve Curtin and Craig Filer. Steve, firstly to you, what a huge show we've got planned for everyone tonight.
Yeah, massive, mate. Very excited. Can't wait. And just seeing that ad there for George's again, just started salivating a bit at the prospect of getting down there, hopefully soon. And I can't wait to get down there when we're allowed to again. But no, how are you, mate? Going well?
Good, mate. Good, as well as can be expected with everything that's working here, but, happening here. But it is a virtual world and we're living basically with everything, all of our focus turned to Europe. And Craig Filer, I think you're looking very bleary-eyed. Has it been another all-nighter you've pulled watching the EPL from last night?
No, I didn't, and we'll touch on that in a minute. I actually didn't. I watched 3/4 of the Arsenal game and thought, if I don't go to bed in a minute, I'm going to throw something at the TV. So we'll touch on that very, very shortly.
Are you not really an Arsenal fan either, are you?
I'm not an Arsenal fan. No, mate. I'm a football fan, but I just don't understand where Arsenal are going and what they're trying to do. And, we'll speak about that in the news show.
We will. There's a lot to come, ladies and gentlemen. It is episode 70. A big shout out to our 2021 major sponsor, the Caroline Springs George Cross Football Club, to the president, Mark Sultana, and to everyone down there. As Mark says, another 2 weeks. Hopefully we're back at Georgie's. Please, Dan, don't beg that mongrel for anything, mate. You're not going to get anything. Anyway, let's keep all the politics out because, Steve, a lot has been happening overseas overnight. Some phenomenal results, phenomenal games, lots of news. We'll get into that a bit later on. But tonight, mate, we've got some massive guests. Who are they?
Yeah, that's right. Well, following on from having one A-League coach last week, this week we have a treat for all of your Melbourne City fans. And I know Clint in the comments is very excited about this. Paddy Kisnorbo is going to be joining us live for an interview very soon. So how good's that?
Oh, that's brilliant. And Craig, last week we had Johnny Aloisi, who's a veteran of this program. Tonight, Patrick Kisnorbo. And next week, we've got the third member of the Victorian trio.
Hopefully, yeah, I'm working with Melbourne Victory to hopefully get Tony Popovich on the show on next week.
How good is that? So, ladies and gentlemen, there is no reason to feel down in the dumps when every Sunday night you can look forward to the Football Out West show. And also our episode sponsor tonight, a big shout out to Macron Victoria, Giacomo Carulli, and all the crew down there. They've already started, planning for next year. They've got some big news, and one of their big recruits has been, in fact, Melbourne Victory. So we'll find out more about that a little later on. But Craig, apart from Paddy Kisnorbo, we're focusing tonight on the old firm going up north, so to speak, up north of the border, going to Scotland. Big game tonight, and we're going to have a really important guest coming up a little later on in the show.
We are, yeah. We're going up north to the pub league, and we're going to be speaking to ex-Celtic international Australian and friend of the show, Scott McDonald, who's going to be speaking to us later on about his time in Scotland and particularly at Celtic, and what it meant to him and what it means to this the Glasgow people.
Steve, did I hear correctly? Did Craig just say ex-Celtic international? I know there's a half of Scotland that does want to secede, and they want.
I think he corrected,
and I think it is the Celtic half. But do you know something about that, Craig? Are the Scots starting to secede? We want to hear from all the Celtic. We want to hear all the Rangers fans, and even those ones are jumping on board, because it is going to be Stevie G versus our very own Ange Postecoglou. So it should be absolutely fantastic. Yeah, Scott McDonald coming on later on. And then last but not least, we're going to be crossing over to Russia to talk Italian Serie A football. How cosmopolitan does that sound? With Dan Pagnocolo, who will be our regular weekly guest. So, guys, let's get straight into it. The news overnight. Steve, what's been happening in the old continent?
Okay, so do you want to start with the EPL, or we start on the continent itself tonight?
Let's do the EPL. What do you reckon, eh?
All right. Well, the game of the night last night, well, it was the late one, and I didn't stay up for it. It kicked off at 2:30. Liverpool won, Chelsea won. Bit of drama just before halftime. Reece James sent off for a handball on the line, which gave Mo Salah a chance to score from the spot. Bit of shithousery from Rudiger as well, getting a yellow card for scuffing up the penalty spot before that, and that was about 20 minutes after Kai Havertz had opened the scoring with one of the better headers I've seen for a long time for Chelsea, for him, and a 1-1 draw there. Liverpool 24 shots to 6 in this one, 7 on target to 3. And just going around the grounds for some of the other scores from the earlier games, Man City obviously really put Arsenal to the sword, and it could have been even more, 5-0 there. And then the game's kicking off at midnight. Late drama in Newcastle, Southampton, with both teams scoring late on and ending up with a 2-2 draw. Ward-Prowse scoring a penalty in the very final moments of that one. Everton did well at Brighton, 2-0. Another high scorer, Crystal Palace, maybe surprised a little bit with West Ham having been in very good form. 2-2 there in London. At Norwich, it was Norwich 1, Leicester 2, and 1-1 as the spoils were shared between Aston Villa and Brentford.
Some big games coming up over the next 24 hours or so. Burnley taking on Leeds tonight at 11 p.m. Also, Tottenham taking on Watford. And then the Wolves coming up against Man United. Craig, will Ronaldo be in the lineup for Man United?
No.
Nah, don't think so.
No, but
not ready yet, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I think we'll touch on that. But yeah, just going back to the incident there with Reece James. I mean, I did watch I did watch the Opta Sports, and they did do a very good post-match coverage of the game, and they were arguing whether it was a sending off or not. But the reality is, he stopped a clear goal, and the right decision was made. But how stupid was Rudiger? Seriously, it wasn't as if everybody was crowded around the penalty spot. He actually ran 30 meters to do it, and everybody could see him do it. It was just the most ridiculous booking I've ever seen.
And imagine if he had have got a second yellow after that too.
Well, so Man City and Arsenal. Let's touch on that.
Pretty disappointing, eh?
I'm just amazed at Arsenal and where they're going. And they got no direction there. There's no, we talk about Ange Postecoglou at Celtic, two totally different things, I know, but that he's got an identity. He's going to have a style of play. Whether he played at, and I think we will touch on this later on, but whether he was in Japan, whether he was in Australia, he has a style of play which follows him. I don't see anything with Arsenal to tell me that they've got a style of play. In fact, I don't believe they've got a squad that's capable of being any better than halfway this year in the Premier League. Steve, your thoughts?
Oh, it was fascinating. Only 19% possession for Arsenal. I think that's their lowest ever in the Premier League era. Admittedly, they did have Granit Xhaka sent off on 35 minutes and played with 10 men for a lot. But
even that then, Steve,
it's just outrageous. It's unbelievable.
That challenge that Granit Xhaka had, he didn't need to make the challenge. He could have stayed on his feet. The guy was running into him. He didn't need to do that. And then you see him walking off the pitch, and the coach just going on and tapping him on the backside. I'm sorry, but I'd have gone in the change rooms at half time, absolutely tore him a new one.
Amazing. We'll quickly have a look at the ladder there. As you can see, West Ham on top, sharing equal top spot with Chelsea, Liverpool, Everton, usual suspects, Man City, Tottenham up there. But I guess the big one, the interesting one, and I guess we've got to make note, Tottenham and Man United both have games in hand, so they can really jump up. Tottenham in particular, who have 2 wins from two games.
Can go top tonight.
Could go top tonight. But have a look at the bottom half of the draw, and that team down at the bottom on the at 20th. 3 games, 3 losses, not 1 goal scored, 9 conceded. Amazing.
Yeah, well, good news for Arsenal's media team. They won't need to make any video clips for their August goal of the month.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, pretty shocking, isn't it? But as we go back to the games for tonight, Burnley, Leeds United.
Rather than the games, Tons, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
All right, let's do that. Let's talk about that. Ronaldo signing for Man United.
Manchester United. What a signing that is. You can say what you like about him, but what a transfer window for Manchester United. They've got 3 world-class players. And when I say world-class, they're Varane, Sancho, and Ronaldo. Does it now mean that they're real candidates for the league, Steve?
I still think there's some question marks. They haven't signed a good number 6. Who's going to be that man in defensive mid? And we saw Fred last week having a real shocker in their match against Southampton. And it's almost comical that they're stocking up in certain areas of the field where they've already got an incredible talent and depth. But they're overlooking that part of the field where they've got problems. I don't know. That's my opinion. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, Owen Hargreaves said exactly the same that on Optus, that he would like to see now those players have come in and how they're going to play in Ronaldo's going to be the striker for sure. They need somebody in that centre midfield, and it certainly can't be Fred or McDonald, can it?
Yeah. Look, we're getting a lot of comments from some of the Juventus supporters. Gene Digia Domenico says Ronaldo Gypsy. Santino Mamone, he's not happy. Interestingly, overnight, Juventus have suffered a major loss as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that in the latter part of this show. But he's already he's already made waves, hasn't he, Craig? I mean, apart from the fact that he's left Juventus and Juventus have lost, but they reckon the value of Man United shares and
8%,
it's 8%, something staggering, Geez.
Yeah.
How can you put some money in Man United at the moment? Because that's an incredible. That is dead set. It's the Ronaldo factor, like him or not. And we saw this at the European Champions League with his famous Coca-Cola or press conference. But he does have this instant effect on everything around him. But I agree with you, mate. I mean, Man United, along with Man City, along with Chelsea. And from what I saw last night of the Chelsea-Liverpool game, Liverpool were all over them possession-wise. So it's certainly not going to be a 1 or 2 team horse race. It's going to be a very fascinating EPL campaign as we progress.
But Arsenal are still in with a chance because
you never know.
Arsenal still with a chance because they signed Ben White for 50 million.
Oh, geez, what a shocking that is! Shocking, gents. Let's move along now. Let's quickly touch base on. I don't think we're going to have time to go through much of the other leagues, but we'll very, very quickly go look at some of the ladders. Let's go to Scotland first of all, Steve. After all, it's the big firm tonight. Have you got any?
And the old firm too.
Yeah, the old firm.
On the old firm.
What did I say?
The big firm.
The big firm. The big
old
firm. Yeah, that's probably Dundee United versus Dundee.
Family time slot here.
Yeah, mate. Quickly comments on the Scottish League and the Old Firm derby coming up tonight. A bit more about that later on, though.
Yeah. Oh, look, I haven't caught any Scottish action this season, so I might leave the comments to you guys if you've got any opinions, but I'm just really excited about this game, and fortunately it's being played so early that's midday local time over there, so no one gets too hammered and punches on at the game. So good for us. We can watch it at 9 o'clock, and that's perfect for a Sunday night, isn't it? Right after our show.
Yeah, exactly. But the news on that, Steve, is there's no away fans allowed at the game, so it'll be a full house, 55,000 or 52.5, I think it is, of Rangers. So it's going to be a pretty enticing atmosphere there at Ibrox for Hans Postecoglou and his Celtic men.
A real cauldron, a real absolute cauldron. But it's great to see the Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen, Motherwell all up there. And Celtic and Rangers game in hand, either one or both of these teams will make slight movements upwards. But it's interesting. Like after 3 or 4 rounds, Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen are all the only teams undefeated. So Celtic and Rangers, it will be very interesting to hear from what Scott McDonald says, and that's going to be coming up a little bit later on.
And just quickly as well on Hearts, they've signed Cam Devlin, our Ollie Roos midfielder, so looking forward to seeing how he goes, if he can get a spot in the starting 11 over at Hearts of Midlothian.
More reason to have a little bit of show a bit of interest in the Scottish League, or as Craig says, the pub league. But the Bundesliga, that's a different story. So we'll go to the Bundesliga. Usual suspects up the top there, Craig.
Yeah, Leverkusen are doing really well. I think Bayern scraped through last evening. Have you got the results here, Tonch? I did have them up, but I've
got some results here. Dortmund got the late winner through Haaland last night, 3-2 over Hoffenheim was probably the game of the night. Bayern Munich 5-0 over bottom placed Hertha Berlin as well was another resounding result. Leverkusen 4-1 over Augsburg, who were struggling a little bit, and Aiden Hustic, the Aussie, played for Eintracht Frankfurt as they drew 1-1 at Arminia Bielefeld. Wins also for Köln and Mainz over Bochum and Fürth, respectively. And Freiburg got 3-2 over Stuttgart. So good win there. Freiburg's doing pretty well so far, actually.
They are indeed, yeah. Steve, while we got you there, the La Liga, very quickly moving along to Spain, the Forgotten League, some are saying it.
Yeah, some of the big winners overnight there. Valencia 3-0 over Alaves. Real Madrid got the win 1-0 away at Real Betis. Real Sociedad, Matty Ryan's team, hopefully we'll see him back soon. They got a 1-0 win over Levante. Bilbao 1-0 over Celta Vigo, and Elche and Sevilla was 1-1. Barcelona still to play tonight against Getafe, as well as Rayo Vallecano versus Granada. Atletico Madrid against Villarreal. That's tomorrow at 6 a.m. Bit of an enticing one if you want to get up early. And the other match, Cadiz and Osasuna, Johnny Aloisi's old team there. Yeah,
so it's early days yet. 3 rounds gone, but it's interesting because, I think Atletico Madrid, if they defeat Villarreal, they can go to the top there. But no less than 4 teams on 7 points, Craig. And Barcelona can also jump to 7 if they, as expected, they defeat Getafe. But a little bit of a congestion happening in the Spanish league. That's good for the Spanish league, isn't it? La Liga.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's still early days, and they only played 3 games, so that'll sort itself out, and you'll have the usual mob at the top there over the next few weeks at Barcelona's, Atletico Madrid, but Real Madrid, and Valencia. But it'd be nice to see a couple of others putting in a show this season and making a bit of a fight of it, because I don't think the Spanish league, obviously with Messi going now, is and obviously Juventus losing Ronaldo. I think the place to be at the moment is definitely the EPL, isn't it?
It is, without a doubt. And we've had a look at the EPL, but one of the other big 5 leagues is the French league. Is it all but over, Craig? PSG up on top, 3 games, 3 wins. Last year's champion.
Look, you have to say, on paper, they should go undefeated, shouldn't they, for the season? Obviously, there's a little bit of unrest there, isn't there, with Kylian Mbappe trying to force a move out of the club. Be interesting to see how that goes. And we spoke, didn't we? Was it last week, about what it's like to look after and manage a team of superstars, and really already there's some unrest there with Messi coming in and Mbappe now feeling that he wants to move away from the club. So look, it'll be interesting to see what transpires in that one over the next few weeks.
Interesting stuff. There we go. So that's the French league coming up. Now let's move to topics closer to home. Steve, during the week, whilst we're here, let's stay on the European scene, because a lot has been happening. We had the Champions League, also the format announced during the week. So let's go through the group stages there, and the pick of the bunch. Steve, over to you.
All right. Let me just get an enlargement of that on the screen, if you're happy just to fill time for a moment.
Mm-hmm. So look at that Group A: Man City, Paris Saint-Germain, Leipzig, and then Club Brugge. Craig, thoughts on that one?
Look, it's a tough group, but it's not as tough as Group B, is it? Atletico, Liverpool, Porto, and Milan. That is an unbelievable strong group. Man City, Paris Saint-Germain. Look, you'd think that they're the 2 favourites to go through.
Yeah.
Go through in that one.
Leipzig have always been a bit difficult, but they might prove a little bit of a thorn. But you're right.
You'd struggle to see past Mel. They might get a best place 3rd team, perhaps. Group B: Atletico, Liverpool, Porto, Milan. Yeah, you'd probably say the top 2 there.
Take your pick there. Group C: Sporting, Dortmund, Ajax, and Besiktas.
Yeah, look, you'd probably say the middle 2, Dortmund and Ajax, to go through on that one. It's an interesting group, that one. You'd say Dortmund would probably come out the winners, but Besiktas in Turkey, that's never an easy place to play football. So I'd probably say Dortmund and Ajax in that one.
Group D, we've got Steve: Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Sheriff from Moldavia.
It's good to see a Moldovan team get in, although at the expense of a Croatian team, Honchi, so probably not the best of news. But
not the team I support, but nonetheless, I would have liked to have seen Dinamo Zagreb get through. But no, they're in the doldrums at the moment, Dinamo. But it's another story. Isn't that right, Maxi Sentic, a fellow?
Start him off.
Inter and Real Madrid should. They're the 2 clear-cut teams there. Group E is an interesting one. We've got Bayern and Barcelona coming up against each other, with another B team in Benfica and Dinamo Kiev. Bayern should coast through that one. And look, Barcelona's definitely got a chance, despite the fact that they're struggling a bit compared to what we've seen them before. I think they have a good chance to get through as well over the other 2 teams. Group F: Villarreal, Man United, Atalanta, and Young Boys of Switzerland. This is an interesting group here. Any of those top 3, I don't mind.
Yeah. Look, for me, I think Man United definitely, and then it's a take your pick out of the other ones.
I'd like to see Atalanta go deep in the comp again, as they did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And Craig, take us through the last 2 groups: Group G and Group H.
Yeah, LOSC, Seville, Salzburg, and Wolfsburg. Ooh. So, oh God, that's a strange one. You'd say Seville, and I'm going to put an outside one for Wolfsburg coming through on that one. And then Group H, Chelsea, Juventus, St. Petersburg, and Malmo.
Chelsea. Malmo with Ola Toivonen.
Yes. Yes. Is that where he's gone now? Is it Malmo?
He's there, yeah. Yeah, I'll go those top two teams there, I think, for me.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Steve, let's move our attention now to the newly renamed Europa Conference League.
Europa Conference
whatever you
League.
want to call it that. Yeah, the old, I suppose, was it the old Europa League?
Well, the Europa League still goes. This is an additional
one,
tier.
Isn't it?
This is the third. This is the real sort of. I think we said the other week the Kissing Your Sister Cup. This is the third tier now. So
very quickly going through the different groups.
Yeah, if we'd pick one from each group, well, Group
Let's do that.
Wow, Group A is hard to pick there. I don't know who. I've seen HGK Helsinki play once live. Actually, they weren't drawing a huge crowd that day in Helsinki in Finland. I'm not sure about Group A. Group B. This is a real raffle here. Who knows what sort of squads that they will put out? But
there's a couple of clubs there we've never heard of, I guess, and there's a lot of people, no doubt, they've never heard of.
Yeah.
So
and then you've got Spurs in Group G.
Yeah, I know. Look at that. Ghent, Partizan, Belgrade, Flora, and Anorthosis. I'd say they're a Cypriot team, aren't they? From Group B.
Yeah.
Group C, Roma stands out from the pack, although CSKA Sofia, you'd think that they might be okay. Craig, take us through the next two groups, Group D and E.
You're having a laugh. I can't speak English, let alone pronounce half of these.
Speak Welsh then.
AZ Alkmaar, CFR Cluj, Jalobelec, and Randers. No idea. This is like this is worse than the pub league. This one, isn't it?
This is like a backpacker's dream holiday.
It would be, wouldn't it? Yeah. Feyenoord's definitely one that sticks out in this next group.
Yeah, I have no idea. Feyenoord, Slavia Prague.
Slavia Prague were going all right last season in Europa League. Yeah,
they get the semi-final last year, I think, didn't they?
I think so,
I think they did.
Yeah, they did. Maccabi Haifa. Yeah, look, that's a reasonable group. Copenhagen, PAOK, Bratislava. In fact, I was in a squad of in Cumberland back in 1997, and we actually played Slavan Bratislava in Wales. We lost. Lincoln Red Imps again. So you'd probably say PA. Sorry, Steve.
Are they from Ireland?
Who?
Lincoln. Lincoln Red Imps.
No, I think they're Malta, aren't they?
Mark Sultana, can you help us out on that one? Or Chris Briff or anyone like that? I've got a feeling Lincoln Red Imps might be from
never
Malta.
Heard of them.
I think they may be from there.
They're from Gibraltar. They are from Gibraltar.
Is that right? There you go. Tottenham, you'd expect them to get through. Geez, they'll be in major issues if they don't do that. Daniel joins us. Daniel Paniacolo, he's on the comments as well. He says Gibraltar. There you go. Thank you, Dan. He'll be joining us live a little bit later on. And then finally, Group H, you'd probably think out of all those out of all those teams, you'd probably expect the Swiss team there, Basel. All right, Steve. Firstly, next cab off the rank, the Socceroos big weekend next weekend with the international weekend, the international window. The next part of the road to Qatar 2022 takes place, and a big one. Some would say a grudge match with this one. I don't know, could we call it the COVID Cup or something? I don't know
if it's a grudge match. I feel like we're not the biggest rivals. I figure our biggest rivals would be Japan or Iran in the Asian Confederation if I was to...
Or Korea, maybe.
Take a pick. Yeah, or South Korea, given that we beat them in the final. So the squad came out yesterday. Noticeable omissions, I suppose. Some players like Matt Leckie who've chosen not to do it because they are based at Australian clubs. I think the same applies to Chris Economides. But the squad's there made up entirely of players from Europe and Asia, and also Brad Smith, who's at Seattle Sounders in the States. And yeah, we look forward to seeing that one. It's the first game on Channel 10 as well. Simon Hill behind the mic. Can't wait to catch some Channel 10 coverage of football. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be it's going to be an early morning, so set your alarms there. 3:30 coverage starts for a 4 a.m. kickoff.
We tipped that, didn't we, Craig? And it is good to see Simon back where he belongs, behind the microphone, calling the action. But there's the Socceroo team. Is it just me, gents, or is it a very, I don't know, an uninspiring team? I might be wrong, but there's a lot of passengers in that team. A lot of players that are good, maybe for the A League, but there's a lot of players that either haven't played for a while. They're still still trying to break into form. But I don't know, Craig. What's your thoughts on it? Is it just me?
Yeah, look, I think Steve obviously brought up a point about the Australian players as well. That obviously hasn't helped the squad. But look, it is what it is, Tonch. That's the reality of where we are now. When you get, as Brendan just said there, Chris Economidis was due to go, but victory blocked it. So, and you can understand the reasons why they would want to block it. So, but look, there's enough in there to do well. I think there's no real shocks, is there? Looking down the list,
Not really, no.
No, I think the only the only one I forgot to mention, who is an Australian-based player, is Ryan Grant, who's planning to base himself outside of Australia to avoid having to come back and quarantine after this one-off game, I suppose, or two games. So, and I think that was what the plan was going to be for Chris Economidis, but victory obviously blocked it, and it's going to be interesting, the qualifying process for the next World Cup. I mean, we could get some surprise teams qualifying, because we've already seen incidences of like the Brazil national team, particularly with English leagues blocking players going to any red-listed countries. We're going to see some second-string teams possibly lining up in various qualifiers in the international window this coming weekend. So, look, it's going to be interesting, and there could be some surprise results, and we look forward to following along with those games in the coming few days.
One of two things can happen. It is a squad, and there aren't too many what you could call superstars. So it's either going to be a very workman-like squad, where they're going to all pull the finger out, and they're all going to, collectively take us, to another level, or we're just going to struggle. And it's interesting. I've got a lot of people that think the same as myself. Maxi Sentich says, yes, Tonchi, I have to agree. Wouldn't come close to the 2006 side.
But we have to stop. I don't
think there's any debating that.
We have to stop that. We all know that we're not anywhere near the 2006 side. That's the whole reason for having the new plan and everything, to try and get back to that. So we can't keep thinking that it's Australia and it's the golden generation, because it's not.
Yeah, it's not. Chris Briffa says, honestly, I'm not confident with this team, and I think that's what at the moment tells me I haven't got this confidence about this team. But having said that, it could well be a very workmanlike team. And there are some real good workhorses in that team, some really good players that sort of slip under the radar, but they end up getting a lot of getting the results done. So it'll be interesting to see how it progresses. Look, I, for one, will be really interested over the next week to see, one, how this squad does, because the first game they're going to be playing in Qatar against China, and then the second one in Vietnam. So two away games in effect, even though the first one is like a neutral game. But also, I think I'll be interested to see, Steve, how Channel 10 actually covers it. I mean, the early signs are pretty promising. Thoughts, mate? How are Channel 10 going to do justice to the Socceroos and to football in this country?
Yeah, I think the important thing is that they've got the right people covering it, and they're showing it the respect. And so far, that's what we've seen. We've seen the coverage on their daily 5 o'clock news bulletins. They've been covering A-League, W-League stories, almost virtually every sports report, every time, with cameras at the training session, speaking to the people in person. So they're doing all the right things, but also having the right people involved. And there's some fresh faces coming in, as well as some experienced ones. Obviously, Simon Hill and Andy Harper will be on the call and the special comments respectively. But it's people that I'm excited about seeing, probably like the likes of Bruce Gite, who is one of the most articulate and intelligent minds out of our recently retired players from the A-League. Looking forward to seeing players, ex-players like him, have their say, as well as experienced players, even the likes of, Mark Milligan, who's going to be another one on there. And
Broski, isn't he?
Sorry,
Alex Brosk, I think he's another one, isn't he?
Yeah, Broski speaks well. So I think
he does talk very well. Yeah.
What do you think, Craig? It's about getting the right people for me.
Yeah, look, I think so. I think it needed freshening up. Didn't we? Nobody can argue that Simon Hill's the best commentator that the country's had for a long, long time. And it's really, and he's a friend of the show, as we all know, and it's really good to see him back behind the mic, and it's nice to see a few other people given an opportunity to give their views to us, the public, and really looking forward to seeing, like you said, Mark Milligan, Bruce Dutte, and Broski.
Bruce Dutte, I reckon, is very good. He's going to be a really good, and as you say, Steve, very articulate. And it comes back down to, look, for the first time in a long time, we're actually going to have mainstream coverage. You want it not to just be informative, but you want it to be entertaining as well. So, they have promised magazine-style shows, preview, review shows, and all of that kind of stuff. So, look, this will be quite interesting to see how it all progresses. But, looking into the future as well, Craig, apart from the Socceroos and the A-League, during the week, in fact, on Thursday night, a rather important meeting took place. Tell us a bit more about this meeting.
Yeah, look, I don't know too much about it, if I'm absolutely honest with you, Tonch. But all I know is that there was a Zoom meeting with 32 clubs, I believe, from around the country, to start, building what the national second tier looks like, or the second division. All I can say is that it's not a case of if it'll happen; it's more of a case of when it'll happen now. And I think that's the next stage for the group, the committee, the clubs, is to decide, when it's going to happen. I think there's still a lot of unanswered questions, about costs. It's alleged that a license is going to cost anything between 150 and 200,000 a year. So that's a lot of money, and then you've got all the travel costs, hotel costs.
Well, is it true, Craig, that they're projecting that a 12-team competition initially would cost around about $3.5 million annually?
That's what I'm hearing is what the administration to run the national second division will cost. So, there's a lot of money there, given the climate and the current climate we're in. Is it the right time to be looking at? Is there another way that it can be funded? I know there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered, and I'm sure, the various presidents and club associates are all putting their ideas forward, and hopefully we can get some kind of answer reasonably quickly, because I believe they wanted to sort of start it in 2022. Whether that happens and when it happens, I suppose, if they are going to kick it off in 2022, when would it happen? Or is it a case of, given the climate, that maybe it's put back a year to get everything in place and make sure that clubs can fully support it? Because the last thing I suppose nobody wants is a club that goes in there for the first year and then has to pull out because they can't afford it, Tonch.
Yeah, look, the South Melbourne president, Nick Maikoussis, has come out in the Greek press, the local Greek press, and speaking to the Greek Herald. So if you want to read that full article, it's on the greekherald.com.au. And he's actually saying that next week, 32 founding members of the second division will have their own online conference in order to make their decisions on how to create this new tournament. So he mentions tournament, league, whatever. In my opinion, due to the current circumstances with COVID-19, it will be very difficult to start this competition in 2022. We need to do this right, not casually. We have to put solid foundations for a league which will be successful and will viable in the long run, said Mr. Maikoussis. So that answers your question, I guess, Craig. They do want to do it kind of slowly but correctly, and hoping to get everything done right. And when they do it, they're going to do it correctly. So, look, that's a good step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. Would absolutely love to see this competition kick off next year. And beggars can't be choosers.
There's a lot of. Sorry, Touch to up. There's just a lot of questions,
Absolutely.
If you had a league of 12 players, and I'm just going to be hypercritical. I'm just going to pick on them just because it's on the top of my South Melbourne. Let's just say they're in that 12. They go into the 12. Then who takes their place in the NPL? Would that be then their under 21s team? Would the under 18s?
Yeah, so many questions. Yeah.
What then happens if South Melbourne finish bottom of that league and get relegated? What happens to the team that's playing in the NPL? There's so many and answer questions and what needs to happen. So I think it's great that they're talking about it. I think there's still a lot of debate and unanswered questions that need to be resolved before it goes any further.
Yeah, as Nick Mancuso said, I'm fully satisfied by the results of this online conference, yet we still have a long road ahead of us. Absolutely true, Steve.
We do that. I think as Craig quite rightly points out, there's so many different moving parts to this when you're establishing this from zero, right? It doesn't exist. We don't have it yet. How do we do it and get it right? It requires so much thought, but at least, I mean, the stakeholders getting in the room and talking about it, that's a start. We just need the right people of influence to make the right decisions at the right times. It's got to go right. And I don't know, we've just got our fingers crossed and we've got to keep optimistic about it. And whilst people are a bit critical about the sort of sitting on the fence nature, in the current climate in Australia, it's not a great situation. We need to be a little bit patient and hopefully we'll get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, gents. Well, we were going to have our next guest from Melbourne City, Patrick Kisnorbo. He's at the moment, we're having trouble getting a hold of him. So a little earlier today, it was a pre-recorded interview. Craig and myself caught up with Scott McDonald, the newly appointed coach of the Gold Coast Knights and a former veteran, a 300-plus game plus veteran of the Scottish Premier League. Sit back and listen to this very interesting interview that we had with Macca earlier tonight. Don't go away, folks. Straight after this little word from our sponsor, and we'll get straight into that. Absolutely. Now, speaking of our guest, a man who knows all too well the toughness, the rigours, the action-packed drama of the Scottish Premier League is a man who's also played for Celtic. He's also played for Partick Thistle. He had 2 stints with Motherwell, and also for some of my friends who are Dundee United fans, This man also donned the Dundee United shirt. It's an absolute pleasure to introduce the newly appointed coach, mind you, for season 2022 of the Gold Coast Knights, Scott McDonald. Scott, thank you for joining us here on the Football Out West show.
Thanks for having me, lads. Pleasure to be here.
Now, first of all, mate, before we go any onto the old firm and the Scottish League, let's talk about your new appointment, because that is going to be is it not your first managerial gig, and it officially starts as of next season in the Queensland NPL.
Yeah, absolutely does. So it means that I am actually officially retired, which I've not really announced. It's not been. I'm not one of these guys to, announce these big things. It's just, let's move on to the next thing. I've always been like that throughout my career, and I think that's probably why I played as long as I did. I'm not too worried about what's gone on in the past, and I'm really looking forward to this challenge ahead and the future ahead. And look, I'm on my UEFA Pro license with the Scottish FA right now, so it was always something I was wanting to do. I'm very passionate about the coaching side of the game, and looking to progress. And this opportunity was too great to turn down after talking to the owner, Adrian, and obviously Adam Porridge as well, who was obviously previous head coach at the club, who's CEO as well. Just getting too much of a role to continue on. And once we sat down and we talked, there was no two ways about it for me. This was a great challenge for me, and something that probably you wouldn't get if you weren't a head coach, within an A-League sort of setup. You're now looking at it from a perspective of, dealing with owners, recruitment, as well as the tactical side and the leadership side that you have to show as a manager as well at first team level. So for me, it's a great opportunity, first up, and really looking forward to it.
It's a fantastic learning curve, I think, first and foremost, Scotty, doing your pro, your A license. A license or pro?
Pro, yeah, I'm on my pro at the minute.
You always get a lot of coaches who jump in head first to big jobs. And sometimes that's the undoing of a lot of people. But having a role and I can't say that Gold Coast Knights are a small club, because they're one of the biggest non-A-League clubs in the country. And obviously myself and Tonch, with a link to a Geelong, a Croatian club ourselves, we know how big that is. It's just unfortunate. I think I said to you on the phone yesterday that it's a shame that Crow Cup can't take place, because I've not been to one, you've not been to one, and they're supposed to be fantastic. But hopefully 2023 we can get that up and running again.
Yeah,
congratulations on that. But
jokingly, obviously yesterday I said hopefully we'll both still be in jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're looking about it.
These clubs, but. Look, I think you just touched on it there. Gold Coast Knights is one of the biggest clubs, out with the A-League in terms of their expectations and the resources that it does have, and what Adrian has put into this football club. Very passionate about it. And look, there's expectations with it, but there was always that for me as a player. So for me, I love the pressures of that. That's no problem, because, I'll be putting those pressures on myself, and hopefully, the players, the demands of that, when we get started anyhow. So, you play to win, as we all do. So, that just comes with the territory, I believe.
Absolutely, mate. We're going to talk a little bit about your new role, which officially starts as of next year, but unofficially actually starts as of tonight. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this as a pre-record. But let's move over to the to the Scottish Premier League, which has really now become very, very interesting to a lot of Australian football fans. Obviously, because of we've got players like Tom Rogic at the moment over there as well. But obviously, Ange Postecoglou, the manager, he's doing so well at one of your former clubs, Glasgow Celtic. Tell us about the Old Firm derbies. I mean, you played at Celtic for 3-4 seasons, as well as other clubs. What's it like, a Celtic Rangers derby?
Look, the build-up to these are always phenomenal. The whole week, I think both clubs probably be thankful in a sense that they've had Europa League games to contest with this week, because it's sort of had the mindset elsewhere, and a lot less time for the players to focus on that and focus on other thoughts. Thankfully, I think it's great for Scottish football. Both clubs actually made it through to the Europa League stages, which is fantastic, after both having shaky starts through their Champions League qualifications. So that's been a real positive. But yeah, look, going back to my experiences in terms of, leading in, you always were strict on your routine that week. You would go to training and you would go straight home. And even then, if you stopped at the wrong red light, you could be in a world of bother, because there's always someone that could notice you. Even if your windows were that dark, there's always someone willing to, wind the window down and give you dog's abuse, from the other half of Glasgow. So it's very, very serious. Look, it's religious over there, without question. And this adds extra spice now that the fans are back, the first Old Firm game back, in almost, 18 months to 2 years. So they'll be chewing at the bit. No Celtic fans are allowed in the stadium. Right. Yeah, there's been politics played, amongst the two football clubs. Rangers had asked for guarantees of, Celtic actually giving them away tickets for the return game at Christmas time. They couldn't give them to them. So for that reason, Rangers have now said, right, well, we're just going to give all the remaining seats to our season ticket holders, and it will just be full of Rangers fans for the whole of it. There has been that going on for a little while, and it's such a disappointment and a shame. There's been a lot of pundits, back home saying a lot about it, and it just doesn't. It sort of disappoints for the spectacle itself, because it's always great to see those away fans, particularly at Rangers at the Copeland end with all those Celtic fans. I was lucky enough to score a winner, with those fans in the background. It was phenomenal. But as it is, it's going to be a cauldron for Celtic to go in. And albeit Celtic have been playing the better football in recent weeks, Rangers have been quite sticky. But you just feel, obviously, with the Ibrox crowd behind them, they're going to be more than up for this one, and it's going to be tough for Celtic.
Yeah, well, just show a video. You just touched on your goal there, 2009, I think it was. Your goal against Celtic there, and just play a little bit of a video and a clip, and fantastic turn and a volley into the top corner. Sent the Celtic fan wild, but not so much looking at the crowd in the background. The abuse you were getting, mate. There was not a lot of love from the Rangers fans on that day. But you said it was
absolutely fantastic last week. But just look at this for a finish. He's online, nice little flick there from Sanders. He's got so much work to do though, but he just turns to his left and the ball sits up nicely. Well, if he doesn't get close enough, he gets wrong side as well. But there's no doubt about that finish. McGregor, absolutely no chance. It was always going in.
Look at the passion. Look at that.
On the Celtic bench. Real men would join in the celebration if it could. Scott McDonald, who scored twice against Rangers at Celtic Park in April, missed a penalty against them the same month, has banged in a beauty.
There you go. That must bring back some very, very good memories, hey?
Absolutely. It still sends the shivers down the spine. I don't think I'll hit a better one in a game like that. It was one of my best goals. And
mate, can I also say, when was that? 12 years ago, 13 years ago? You still haven't changed. You haven't aged at all. Maybe a few little grays there, and that's about it. Like a good wine. Scott, now you've also played not just at Celtic, but and you played 88 games at Celtic, but you've also played over 300 games in the Scottish League in total. So, as we mentioned at the top of the interview, you played with Motherwell on two different occasions, Dundee United and Partick Thistle as well. Obviously, all the attention is on those two clubs. But, I mean, if we look at the ladder at the moment, Hibs are on top, Heart of Midlothian, Aberdeen, and then your old club, Motherwell. So Celtic and Rangers, even though there's a game in hand, occupy 5th and 6th spot at the moment. There's a stereotype of the Scottish League is that it is a two-team competition, two-team league. But in reality, there are a lot of other clubs that maybe don't get the fanfare that have got some very quality players.
Yeah, they do. I mean, particularly now, with Hearts coming back up from the Championship this year, this is probably the strongest Premier League there has been in many a year in terms of the big teams are in the league. All 12 teams are big teams. Probably, no disrespect, out with Livingston. They're probably one of the smaller ones, but your top 6 teams are there. So it's very hard to break through them. You've got your Hearts, your Hibs, your Aberdeens. Dundee United have come back into as well. And then you've got Celtic and Rangers. So, I mean, obviously, they do put it as a, two-team league because of the disparity in terms of wages that Celtic and Rangers can afford to pay players and the quality of players that they can bring in, which is more than fair enough. But it's up to the other caliber of teams to go and be consistent out with, those two and really put pressure. And I think probably Hibs will do that certainly this year. There's a lot of promise with Aberdeen. And I think Hearts will be a particular surprise package this year, albeit even though they came up from the Championship they're always a strong side, and they've always got one of the biggest passionate supports around as well. So they'll always be, tricky games for Celtic and Rangers. And I fully expect this year for it to be topsy-turvy, very much a roller coaster for both Old Firm teams, particularly when they go away. Now that we've got fans in, as we've seen already, Celtic and Rangers have dropped points away from home, and I think there'll be plenty more to come.
Yeah. Now, what people, for our listeners, you actually, back in 2007, I think Motherwell turned down a bid from Rangers. So, ironically, you could have been playing for the other side of Glasgow had the bid from Motherwell been accepted from Rangers. I think a bid of £400,000, which is about $700,000.
Yeah,
back in 2007. How did? Yeah.
Well, look, it's pretty crazy how things work out. At that point, I think historically, I didn't really think that Celtic were going to come forth and put a bid in for me. There's a bit of back history to that. Obviously, with my time at Motherwell playing against Celtic, I don't really want to go into that too deep. But that probably, in my mind, was sort of like, well, there's only going to be one half of probably the Old Firm are going to come, and the chance to play, and win trophies, play at European, level as well. It was going to send you to the next level. So for me, I was dead set in wanting to, go to Rangers when that bid was obviously put in. But as it was, Motherwell, denied it. And I had to stay till the end of the season with Motherwell. And then within, 2 months' time, Celtic came calling. And when I had the choice between the two, there was only one choice, because I grew up a Celtic fan. I just didn't believe at that point that was ever going to be the case, that would come up for me at that time. But thankfully, all good things come to those who wait. And thankfully, it was my opportunity. And I lived the dream, guys, pretty much from a young kid, coming from Melbourne with, Scottish parents and supporting, Glasgow Celtic from a very young age, watching them on the telly, listening to the tannoy, because we couldn't get vision of the games then so long, that I am pretty old now. And then going back as a young kid as well, at 10, 11-year-old, seeing all your superstars that you actually now, I'm friends with some of them. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You got all these pictures when you're 10-year-old with these guys, but you can sit there and have a beer with them now. It's kind of crazy. But it's just been surreal. And I suppose I've not really had a chance to sort of think about it too much or enjoy it or think, wow, it's been some ride. I think one day I will. But like I said, off air, I think it was, before we got on, it's all about the next thing for me. And I'm still always in that motion rather than thinking about behind. But it's been a great experience.
Now, you mentioned a kid from Melbourne going to Scotland and living his dreams. I guess we've got another kid from Melbourne, and he's a little bit older than probably all of us. Ange Postecoglou, he's over there now, head coach of Glasgow Celtic. He's doing incredibly well. They absolutely love him. But the scrutiny that he must be under, the pressure he must be under, because Glasgow, obviously, from what I gather, and I've been to Glasgow once, beautiful town. People are fantastic when the Scots are playing. I can imagine when it's like the Old Firm, what it'd be like then. Good Lord. What's the pressure like? What's the kind of public attention that he'd be under as coach of Celtic?
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't stop. You're always judged, even when you're sleeping. When you walk out from the training ground, it doesn't matter where you are. There will be all eyes on Ange Postecoglou, from all the Celtic fans and faithful, and the job that he's doing. He just won't get a minute's peace. I think it would be a pleasant, not a pleasant surprise, but a huge surprise to him. He probably knew what he was getting into, but no one really, really knows until you actually, get that door and experience it, full on. And I bet, now he really understands it. What I will say is, though, from the calamitous that he arrived in, to turn it around in such a short space of time that he has done has been truly spectacular and shows the quality of manager and leader that he is. Because those first couple of weeks, there was hardly enough bodies in the building to, sort of put a first 11 out for a pre-season friendly. He had to go into sort of the youth ranks to sort of fill gaps till such a time that obviously he got some of his internationals back. Still then, he didn't have enough players. There's been players disenchanted from the year before as well. They've won 9 in a row, a lot of these players. How does he motivate them? How does he get them to stay on board? And for him to do that and obviously still as well, put his own stamp on it and his own philosophy, we've really seen that come through, guys. You know, particularly they lose the first game of the season, they go out the Champions League, everyone's going, this guy's not going to last till Christmas, but bang, he just clicked, and just something clicked. A few more bodies through the door, and all of a sudden you see the quality go up. And Kyogo Furuhashi particularly has been most prominent, you know, for Celtic success, and it's been a great signing from Ange, because he gives them everything in terms of his goals, his quality off the ball, his movement, but even just his, you know, the way he goes and presses, it really sets a precedent for the whole team to go and attack teams. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them do that against Rangers at Ibrox tonight, and see how they come up and see what Rangers have got, you know, to answer that.
Yeah, and look, one thing as we all know of being coaching is you're scrutinised by the way you play sometimes, and coaches go away from that and, you know, think, well, I've got to appease the fans, and I'm going to play in a different style because of, you know, we see Mikel Arteta at the moment, and, you know, it's not about Arsenal, but I was just gobsmacked with the style of football they play. I have no idea. I know they have no identity.
No.
Ange Postecoglou is a true identity. You know what you're going to get out of Ange, whether you're in the third division of the Scottish football or whether you're in Australia or Japan. You're going to play a specific style of football, and he stuck to his guns very, very early. Now, you know, for a lot of coaches that takes years, and you're going to find out very similar, you know, over the next part of your journey. It takes a long time sometimes to get that, but he really has, over the space of 6 weeks, transformed that football team into, you know, a superb footballing unit now. You know, with Tommy Rock, with the additions of the keeper coming in and a couple of signings, you know, that's a massive lift for the football club. And then you've got Ange and his passion, and, you know, the way that he talks to the press. That's something that, you know, Scottish media will not be prepared for.
No,
He talks to the media. It's unbelievable. But he's doing a fantastic job. Just going on to tonight's game, Scott, it's going to be a fiery encounter. They always are. Rangers do have a couple of hotheads in the team. I'm going to ask it. It's been on my list, and should I or shouldn't I? Will Moreno stay on the pitch?
Oh, you know what? I think he will. Because his nemesis won't be playing tonight. Obviously, he's in a red shirt now, in Scott Brown. So, in terms of people to get under his skin, I'm not so sure Celtic have that in abundance now, particularly in the back line. It would be Starfelt's first occasion playing in an old firm. Welsh is very, very young also. Tony Ralston, again, is very inexperienced in terms of these old firm games as well. And then you've got Greg Taylor as a left back again, who's not played too many. So if you're looking at any weakness probably within the Celtic side, it is that back four. And that's we'll be looking to target. There's no question, and try and get at them early as possible, because if you go sort of middle to front for Celtic, you'd have to say, you know, on performances at the moment, they are far superior to what Rangers have been performing at the moment. But these games just throw up, you know, curveballs, and you can never sort of judge before these games realistically who's the better side, because it just all depends. It's a cup final game, really is, always is. What I will say is, obviously, being at Ibrox and having, you know, a full capacity crowd of, you know, Rangers fans in it, Celtic are going to be up against it. They're going to have a really good start, try and quieten those Rangers supporters and really get them frustrated like they have been already this year. And that's something that the big question mark on the Rangers players at the moment, you know, particularly because obviously last season there wasn't any fans. They played so well, performed excellent. And then since the fans have been back, and there has been certain, you know, moments within games of frustration, and the fans have got on top of them, that they haven't been able to bounce back from that and show a bit of character. So I think that will be one of the you know, the things that Celtic are looking at and trying to quieten them very quickly and frustrate them. And I think they've got the capacity to do that. But again, it will all come down to that midfield battle, guys. It always does.
Yeah.
Who's going to dominate in that midfield three of both sides? And if Rangers particularly, I'm interested to see, because what Ange has done really, really well this year is with his inverted fullbacks, which is probably particularly it really is. You know, we learned and mastered that a lot more when he's been in Japan. But the timings of what the fullbacks, how they invert as well, just no one's had an answer for it, guys, in the Scottish Premier League thus far. I mean,
nobody's done it, Scotty. Nobody's played that system before. So all of a sudden you've got, you know, a system where are the runners? Where's the movements going? How is that right back coming in as a six? Where's the six? And it's very hard if you haven't come across that style of football before.
Correct. And what's happening is he's leaving his wingers. I know we're getting very tactical, so I don't know if people like analytical talk, but the
We
wingers
love it.
stay wide and really have 1v1 situations against. And you'd have to say probably Tavernier as well. If he gets in 1v1 situations, that's probably what I'd be looking at getting. He's very good at getting forward, but if they can get at him in 1v1 situations with those inverted fullbacks and overload those midfield areas. But, Michael Beale and Steven Gerrard, particularly Michael Beale, is a very, very clever coach as well. So that's why I'm so intrigued and looking forward to this encounter, guys, because how Rangers sort of try and, come up with ideas and ways to, stop Celtic, with that overload in the middle of the pitch.
Excellent. Well, Scott, we would love to have chatted a little bit more about your own managerial direction, I suppose, and I'm sure there'll be opportunities for that. We look forward to having you on the show again. But we're going to wind it up very, very quickly here, knowing you're a very busy man. Quickly, just your prediction for tonight's game.
Well, I did say 1-1 in my prediction, but obviously the game's getting closer. I'm a Celtic man, and I'm going to say 2-1 Celtic. Come on, boys.
Excellent. So it's on BEN Sports tonight. And for those of you like Maxi Santic, if you got the Croatian television IPTV channels and all that, that'll be on there as well.
Okay, it's on KO, Tunch. If you got KO, it'll be on KO.
KO as well. There you go. So there's a million ways that you can watch the game tonight. Should be an absolute fantastic one. And Scott, as for you, we wish you all the very best. You've got some months ahead of you to be able to plan and do all the back end, scouting, if you like, and all that before you become officially the head coach as of next season of the Gold Coast Knights. Wishing you all the very best, mate.
Thanks very much, guys. Pleasure to talk to you. Hopefully, chat.
Thanks, mate.
Good on you. And
Looking for the best in authentic Maltese cuisine? Then you need to dine at Georgie's on Vista. Situated in the heart of Fraser Rise, you can't go wrong when it comes to family dining. We have a menu for mum and dad, one for the kids, and one for seniors. Everyone's taken care of. Don't miss our specialty nights. Tuesday night is Parma night, where you get to choose from not one, but 5 different Parmas. Wednesday night, kids eat free with every paying adult meal. Thursday night is members night, where members get the chance to win some great prizes. And Friday night, join us for happy hour between 5:30pm to 7:30pm. Jim, Johnny, Jack, and their little brother Schooner are only $5 each. Looking to get an early start Friday afternoon for a punt? Our sports bar with TAB is open from 3pm Friday afternoons. To book your table, email info@georgesonvista.com.au. Bring the family and come dine at George's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Rise, Plumpton.
welcome back to the Football Outwear Show. Wouldn't be the Football Outwear Show if we didn't have a few little technical glitches, so apologies for the start where we did not have audio for the first part of that, but that was all very, very quickly rectified and we were able to get into it. But it was a pre-record simply because as we speak, the Gold Coast Knights are involved in a Queensland NPL fixture against Olympic United. Steve, did we have actually a progress score from that game?
Yeah, they've gone down the Knights at Olympic FC 2-1. So Olympic getting the points there. And the other game tonight, Eastern Suburbs 0, Sunshine Coast Wanderers 4. So that completes the round of NPL Queensland. So well done to everyone enjoying their football up there in Brisbane.
Great to see someone at least being able to enjoy their football. But Craig, mate, we've got a very special guest coming up next. Do you want to do the honours and introduce our next guest?
Yeah, looking forward to this chat with A-League Championship head coach of Melbourne City, Paddy Kisnorbo. Welcome to the show.
And it's an absolute pleasure having Paddy Kisnorbo on the show. How are you, Pat?
How are you guys? Are you good?
Great. Great to have you on board. Thank you very much for taking time out. Mate, before we move on, and we saw that interview there with Scotty McDonald, who has played in the Scottish League. Now, you also, once you left South Melbourne in the former NSL, you moved to Scotland and played a couple of seasons there for Hearts, I do believe, was it? How did you find the Scottish League?
Yeah, look, I think it was an eye opener, especially a small kid coming from Melbourne to get into a professional environment in such a country where we're not used to weather, we're not used to playing so many games, competition. So it really was sort of the start of the learning towards the journey of my career. And look, I'm grateful for the opportunity given to me because it was such a good apprenticeship to really understand what it takes to be a footballer in Europe.
So from the start of your playing career in Europe, let's go to the start of your managerial career here in Australia. Melbourne City, first A-League title. It was a difficult year, but it makes the achievement all the more amazing, doesn't it? What did it mean to the club and, of course, the City group to take the title last year? Or this year, however we want to look at it.
Yeah, look, I think any achievement, the club always, are very happy with. I think with our club, since they joined, they always wanted success in some sort of way, and that's sort of trophies and titles. During the years they didn't sort of achieve that, and with the stigma of being a Man City club, you always have that extra added pressure because that people think you have the resources and all the money, which is completely wrong because we're in a salary cap league. So I think to finally win a trophy for the club and the CFG group, I think they were very happy, and so was I, and obviously so were the players.
No, absolutely, and it was a fantastic achievement for the club. Just touching on, and we'll probably go back and forth a little bit here, Paddy. But pre-season for you now, looking forward to obviously retaining that title in 2021-22. How's pre-season going for you? And obviously it's challenging, so you can't sort of do any pre-season games. How are you managing that with the players?
Yeah, look, I think, as you said, it has its challenges. It's the way we have to adapt, and the way we, this is the modern life at the moment, modern day life. So, look, preseason's been hard, for the players. Not knowing when your next game is going to be is a difficult one. But at the end of the day, we have to prepare and be ready for when that day does come. So, who knows with this current pandemic, what's going to happen? We just have to adapt and be ready, for round one. And, we might not play a game at all because obviously NPL's at the moment is finished here in Melbourne. And, I don't think we're allowed to play another A-League team yet. So it has its challenges and difficulties, like everywhere else. But we just have to adapt and use it to our advantage.
And just touching on that as well, Paddy, with the FFA Cup fixture drawn against South Melbourne, the whole of Melbourne and probably the whole of Australia was super excited about that match happening at Lakeside or set to be happening. How challenging has it been trying to prepare for a game that you don't know when it's going to happen as well? Yeah,
look, I think it was great news, I think, just for football in general that, a game of that stature would, be part of an FFA Cup. I started my career at South, so there's a lot of history with that. It got put back now, so it's the unknown, which is the hard thing. And I think when we look at it, we want crowds to be there, we want everyone to support the game, and if you can't, then I think and the game goes ahead, I think it's a bit of a difficult one. I think it's it's one where it'd be a great game to watch, but if there's no atmosphere or crowd, I think it does it injustice, the game. So, look, we have to wait and see. Things might change, but we're preparing for that game. So, we will go as normal.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a good point you make about the crowd. The FFA Cup, that's what it's all about, really, at the end of the day, as well as the upsets. Now, onto your squad. You've made a big signing, a certain Socceroos captain, Matt Leckie, joining the squad. Just a little bit, if you could talk a little bit about how he's settling in, and some of the new signings as well, like Jordan Hall from MPL Victoria, a former City youngster back in the day as well. He's been very consistent at NPL level for Green Gully. How did that move come about?
Look, I'll start with Lex. Look, Lecky doesn't really need to get introduced too much, but I think what the thing that's been great for us is the way that he's gone about training, not only for himself but to show the young players what it takes to have a top career in Europe, and he's led by example, which is fantastic. And to have a person like that around the change room is invaluable. So not just on the pitch, off the pitch as well. So, he's done a great job since he's been here. So we're very grateful for that. With Jordan Hall, like you said, he was with the youth team a while back now. And it's going to sound weird me saying this, but I think the best thing that happened to him was, to go and play men's football in NPL.
Yeah.
Because it gave him that experience that not a lot of these young players have at that age. And as we know, a lot of kids think they're ready, but in reality, they're not. So I think that really helped him in his journey and in his experience to play against men, and not just 2 games. It's 30, 40 games, over, 2-3 years. And that really, I think that's really helped his development and matured him as a player. So I've watched him a few times. We brought him in and he hasn't been out of place. So, we decided to add him to our squad, which I think is great.
Yeah, myself and Steve have been lucky enough to commentate Green Gully on a number of occasions, and he's always had a very good game. Every time we've seen him play, he's nice and composed there at the back and can play. So it's exactly fits into the Melbourne City model. So just a couple of youngsters. You talk about Matthew Leckie there with the invaluable within the change rooms and his experience. Some of the youngsters around Nat Atkinson, Connor Metcalf. How good are these young, and Max Caputo? How good are these guys, and how far can they go? You said earlier on, Europe, and that's the sort of way you need to go. How good are these guys? Because I was involved with Melbourne City a few years ago with my lad, and both Nat and Connor were both there at the time, and they've both come and they obviously represented the country at the Olympics. How good are they, and how far can they go?
Look, I think when we look at it, it's a difficult one because they do have great potential. But sometimes I think the key is the timing of when they go. Do they go earlier, or do they play another couple of seasons to get better and better? They can do anything they want if they really put their mind to it and work hard, as we all know. And I think the Olympics showed them some good things about, kids their age and where they play and how good they actually really are and what it takes to be, a player that, can play overseas. Can they do that? I think they can. Mm-hmm. Do I think they need more time? I think they do. I think, Connor and Nathaniel have had a great year. But a bit like our club, I think they need to have another good year. Mm-hmm. To show that consistency where they can play at a high level all the time, because we all know that overseas you only stay at that level if you can consistently do it, not game after game, but year after year. And I think they had that challenge as well this year. So, hopefully they can have another great year, and who knows, what the future holds. But I think if they put their mind to it, I'm sure they could have a chance, in playing abroad in whatever country that means.
And that's really good that you sort of say that. Sorry, Tonch, that
you're right.
The kids need opportunity to play more games, because sometimes we see, and we've been spoken about it on this show a number of times, where a player will have a very good season, go off to Europe, and come back very, very quickly. Sometimes in not a good place because they haven't enjoyed the experience. So to hear that these guys are going to get another year or so of playing first team football with the champions of Australia, And if they continue to do what they do, then the door will be open. You only have to look at Dennis Genre, who was a Melbourne City lad, went off to MacArthur and is now playing in France. So it just shows you what can be done. But it's great to see that they're part of the club long term.
Yeah, I think the best example I can give you is Daniel Azzani. He came along the scene and he played maybe 14 games, went to the World Cup, went to Celtic, and then all of a sudden, unfortunately hurt his knee, but he doesn't play a lot. I really think he needed to stay another year. Now, I think that's the best sort of model for young kids in this country, that they need to keep replicating that, year in, year on, and then hopefully get that experience to go overseas and then continue to play. And that's another thing where a lot of these players, they go over there, but they don't play. So then what's the real point? They come back here a couple of years later, and you don't want that. You want our kids to represent our nation at the top levels of football in the world.
Paddy, we've talked about some of the individual talent there at Melbourne City, some of the young up-and-coming youngsters. What about the system itself? How is the conveyor belt of talent looking at the club and the whole structure and the whole system, given the players that have come through the system over the last few seasons, including some of the players we've just mentioned?
Yeah, look, as we know, there's a lot of talent out there, but not everyone makes it, and it's only a certain few. So I think we're lucky because I think we've got 4 or 5 maybe Olympians at a great age at the moment. And that's not including Max Caputo or Rafa. They're at a great age of, they're sort of heading towards their prime. So I think that took maybe 5 years. So the next ones under that are the Maxes, the Emin Durakovic's, the Rafas, and they're the next sort of lot. And it's very hard to find. And that's why, our academy does a great job, because it's, putting these kids in an environment where they're trying to, be their best, and having the best kids, and not just at Melbourne City, that's at Victory, that's at MacArthur, all these academies. The best kids are playing or training with the best kids of that region or of that state. And I think that's really, really important, where that's how they learn and improve, when they're playing with the best of the best. And that's like us. And we're fortunate to have, some really good players. And so are other clubs. There's a lot of talent out there. It's not just us. But we're, at the moment, lucky that we've got 4 or 5 players at a great age that I think that could maybe do some good stuff.
Yeah, well, we saw Raphael, NPL game I attended, absolutely tear the game apart, setting up several goals going back a couple of months ago when football was still going, of course. But obviously some good youngsters there. Is there going to be some more signings to come into the senior squad? And I think you've got a foreign spot still available as well.
Look, we'll see. The current climate of football is very difficult, and the pandemic doesn't help. So, I've always been one for, promoting Australians. I think we're in a country where we can, and it's great to see us Australian kids do well and players. If I can bring someone in, we'll see. I know I do have a foreign spot left, but at the moment, it's not probably my biggest concern. It's just trying to get a team ready for whenever the season starts.
Yeah, definitely. And just one other one as well with the training. You obviously moved from Bundoora out to Casey. How's that adjustment been, and what are the facilities like out there compared to Bundoora?
Yeah, look, besides the drive, which I don't mind, which is about 40 minutes. Look, it's fantastic. I'm not going to lie. When you actually turn it up in the car, it actually looks like a football academy, like a facility, which is fantastic, like the one you see in England and stuff like that. It's fantastic, and we're in a great community over there. If you ever come down, there's football that is non-stop with the locals and the community, which is fantastic to see in all different nationalities. So it's fantastic to see on that side how football is so big. But we're very lucky to have and move into a facility like that, and we'll only keep improving.
Brilliant. Craig?
Yeah, well, we can we'll move away from Melbourne City a little bit there, and it sort of moves us on a little bit to your facility, your new facility you have down there at Casey Fields, and a facility that one of your old clubs have now got in the EPL in Leicester City, and their fantastic new facilities, which is one of the best I think I've ever seen in a football club. It's just amazing. Your time at Leicester obviously was very, very good for you. I've got some very good friends of ours who are manic Leicester fans. Could you ever envisage them winning the EPL and the FA Cup?
Look, I don't think anyone could at that stage. Let's be perfectly honest. But it just shows, through hard work, a team that's together, that anything can be achieved with some great signings and some good coach, a good coach. Also, I think the club plays a major part because clubs these days are very easy to judge on one or two results. But they showed faith in the coach. First it was Ranieri and then Brendan Rodgers. And look what they achieved. They had a bit of time and, they were able to, get a squad that could win then something, and then they achieved that, even though back then you probably couldn't imagine them winning anything.
Yeah, definitely. And they're a bit short on defenders at the moment. I think, Paddy, they might need you to get back over there if your Achilles has recovered and help them out, maybe.
I'm staying away from football.
No more friendly games or
nothing at all.
Games.
Nothing at all.
Very good. Well, we hope that is getting better. Hope people weren't taking the mickey out of you too much on crutches there at the grand final celebrations. Now, let's go to Allen Road now. It's the first season in about 20 years that the club's been able to be in the Premier League with fans at the stadium. Can you talk a bit about what the fans are like there of that Yorkshire-based club?
It's you can look. Words can't express. I'm giving him justice by probably talking about it. Like, it's that crazy. As soon as you, if I'm the opposition, as soon as you are rolling up to the ground, you're already intimidated by fans waiting for the bus so you get off. And then you go into the ground and it's 40,000 fans that just want to kill you. They don't like you. They love Leeds, and it's so daunting for opposition teams. And it's crazy. If you play for them, it's unbelievable. It's fantastic. You want to give everything for them. They're loyal. They love players. They're skillful, but they love hard workers. And if you give hard work to a lot of fans, they love you anyway. They just want to see effort. And it's fantastic. And no matter where you go, Leeds fans always support. It doesn't matter what team, what away game, home game, they're always there. I remember when I played with Kasper Schmeichel, and this is what type of club Leeds are. We talk about tradition, history. His dad needed 30 bodyguards, and he retired about 50 years ago. But he had to leave at half time. So that's the type of club they are. Like, so it's just Leeds. Anything else, it's irrelevant. And they don't care about the past. We all think, okay, the past is the past, but they don't. It's in their DNA, and that's what they are. And if you support Leeds, then you hate everyone else, and that's it. It's ingrained in you, so you can't escape that. It's just surreal, and I think if you ever get a chance, you need to go there because, like I said, I'm giving it probably an injustice, but it's magical.
And they really warmed to the Aussies as well over that 10 years or so where there were so many Australians that went through the club there.
Yeah, they did. And I think, back then Australians were known for, hardworking, being loyal. They were cheap. They did everything, So I think that's why, back in the days, Aussies were a premium because we were like that. Now, obviously things change in the current climate, but, they had a really big connection with the Australian players.
Paddy, awesome talking to you. Great insight into the English Premier League and English football in general, and also the local football here. We're going to have to wind it up. But before we let you go, we ask all of our guests to pick their top three and their bottom three for the EPL campaign, the current one.
Oh.
So We're putting you on the spot there. It's
How's
like
that
a bit of a
without
quiz,
notice?
isn't it? Mate, who do you think will be in the top 3, and ultimately who's going to take the crown?
Look, I think in what I've seen at the moment, I can't go past Man City. They look superior. They look fantastic. And it's a close second and third, I think, with Liverpool and Chelsea. They look really good.
Mm-hmm. And the bottom 3?
The bottom 3, look.
Arsenal got to be there, surely.
Arsenal.
We've upset too many Arsenal fans tonight, guys.
At the moment, obviously, it's Norwich. It's a hard one because there's a lot of teams that have gained early points. I don't want to say Brentford because that's the easy one. So I'm going to go probably Burnley. And I'm going to say Newcastle.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
There you go. That's interesting. Oh, well, mate, thank you very much for your insight. We'd love to have you on the show, particularly once the season starts. But wishing you, mate, all the very, very best for the season ahead. Hopefully it will happen. And I'm sure it will in some shape, way, or form, whatever. It's good enough for the AFL. Why not for the A-League? Eh? But wishing you all the very, very best for the campaign ahead.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks,
Patrick. Cheers.
Thanks, Paddy.
Good on you, mate. Patrick Kisnorbo, the coach of Melbourne City, taking time out of his schedule to come and talk to us. Really appreciate that. Gents, we've almost got to the end of the program. But before that, we're going to run out of time. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have a chance to speak to Daniel, but let's quickly go through the Serie A results. Steve, firstly, the results played in round 2 so far.
Yeah, look, there's no going past the big one here. It's Empoli going to chew in and getting a 1-0 win over Juventus there. So that is the big one there. Fiorentina 2-1 over Torino. Lazio, big winners, 6-1 over a 10-man Spezia outfit. Atalanta and Bologna 0-0. Inter Milan doing the right thing so far, 3-1 over Verona. And Udinese 3-0 over Venezia. Couple of games to come tonight. Genoa, Napoli, Sassuolo versus Sampdoria. Salernitana versus Roma, and Milan versus Cagliari tomorrow at 4:45 for your Milan fans.
Craig, still early days yet, but let's have a look at the top part of the ladder, the top 10, if you like.
Yeah, there's one big name missing from there, isn't there? And obviously we spoke about it early on with Ronaldo going, how much of effect that will have on the club. I've heard reports and watched TV shows that maybe where they are is the reason why he left, because he's a winner. He wants to win championships, and he doesn't think that the current Juve team is capable of meeting his expectations. And they're certainly not in the top 10. But again, Lazio, Inter Milan at the top there, and as you said, Juventus down there in 13th place, but only played 2 games. So very early days.
Very early days, yeah, of course. That absolutely. Just toggling between the two there. Lazio, Inter Milan, they've got a 100% record at the moment, but a lot of teams there, Roma, Napoli, Sassuolo, and Milan also, but they've only played a game in hand, and their games are coming up. Gents, well, unfortunately, like I said, we weren't able to have Dan on tonight, so apologies to Dan. He was joining the program throughout tonight. Just had so much content tonight. Next week, it's the international round, so there won't be any domestic games happening, but there'll be a lot as far as the International World Cup qualifiers. And Craig, as you mentioned, hopefully we'll have one Mr. Tony Popovic from the Melbourne Victory on next week. So last week, Western United, this week, Melbourne City, and next week, Victory. So that should be good.
Yeah, hopefully we can get that one over the line, and we can have another great show next Sunday.
Brilliant show, guys. Well, keep I don't know, what's the word? Entertaining yourselves this week with whatever we can do in lockdown. Keep busy. And to everyone else, thank you for joining us tonight. We had some really good numbers and some great interaction with the punters out there. We're doing our bit to try and keep you guys as sane as possible. Gents, have a lovely, lovely week. And I really look forward to having your company again next Sunday.
Good night.
You too, mate. See you then.
Good on you. Good night, guys.
Good night.